are walking in harmony. I can be carefree. Yes, with you around it's easy. You make me happy.
Is it still possible to protect our privacy in the digital age? Edward Snowden's revelations about the extent of US cyber surveillance have sent shockwaves across Europe. We now know our internet activity is monitored and stored by both states and private companies.
I
think it'll take a lot longer for the magnitude of these revelations to impact on our society and on our relationship with power and our relationship with technology.
For months, the scandal surrounding the prison program has raged. Under the guise of anti-terrorism, the NSA collected, via the US net giants, the personal data of millions of citizens worldwide, a massive, menacing and indiscriminate collection. Beyond the diplomatic fallout, the revelations have opened up a debate on the major issue of our time, the mass production of data via the net known as big data. For big data, read Big Brother. A group in Paris is leading the fight for rights and freedoms in the digital age. La Quadrature du Net, one of its founders, highlights the power of the US net giants.
Their technological and economic models are based on the maximum data collection globally. This centralization of data forms the pillar of mass surveillance.
However, alternatives do exist, say activists. One example is the search engine DuckDuckGo, which does not store personal information. A vital component is a change in attitudes. Campaigners reject the misleading trend of the split between the computer masters and the real world.
On the one hand, there's the product that comes in a box. It's easy, simple, user-friendly. And the other stuff in white letters on a black screen, that's stuff you're not expected to understand. There's the technology you control and the technology you have the potential to control. This has to be studied, learned. I'm convinced that in the 21st century, not knowing where one's data is or ignorance of the architecture of the communication system will be akin to illiteracy. We'll be signing contracts we cannot read and don't understand.
In Europe, the protection of privacy is considered a fundamental right. In each country, a public authority is responsible for protecting it. In France, it's the CNIL, the Commission Nationale Informatique et Liberté. Its president refuses to accept the scandal is a failure of the national supervisory authorities. She is calling for a clear political and legal response at a European level.
Bienvenue.
If there was a failure, it was that Europe didn't react quickly to the PRISM case. So I think it will kickstart negotiations to formulate a new legal framework to develop a business policy on these issues across Europe, and for the framework for cooperation between intelligence services between Europe and the United States, which don't exist as we speak.
Entre services de renseignement entre l'Europe et les États-Unis qui soit existant aujourd'hui, il n'y en a pas.
Here in Brussels, the battle has raged for 3 years around the reform of EU legislation on data protection. It's a long and complex battle with lobbying from the US net giants particularly intense.
The right to be forgotten, the explicit consent of users, data processing, the subjects are many and varied. The aim is to create a clear legislative framework across the EU. At the end of October, a draft was finally approved by a committee of the European Parliament. Suffice to say, talks are ongoing between the Commission and Member States. As representatives of the US net industry fight to avoid restrictive regulations, others battle to defend privacy.
There was a lot of discussion before the Snowden revelations as regards the rules for transfer of data to law enforcement authorities outside the EU. There was a broad consensus at the time that the rules shouldn't be strengthened. After the Snowden revelation, suddenly the whole situation changed, and now there seems to be consensus across the member states and across the European Parliament that the rules need to be clear, comprehensive and predictable.
Essential to future regulation is a change in business practices. As far as government snooping is concerned, much remains to be done.
Perhaps the more important lesson is how free the intelligence services, not only of the US, but also in the EU, are to do whatever they like. I think it's very important to look at ways on how to strengthen scrutiny of intelligence services activities and surveillance of citizens, which at the moment is very much open and subject to very diverse legal settings.
These days, connectivity is vital for the economy and security, but individuals' right to privacy is a very high price to pay.